You're listening to the Fantasy Fling Podcast. Take a break from the season-long commitment and join us for a Friday fling as we give you the newest and hottest DFS deals, preview the DFS main slate, and take the dreadful walk of shame. Here are your hosts, Brandon and Eric.
Welcome to the Fantasy Fling DFS podcast. We are looking at week 4 of the DFS main slates on DraftKings, of course. We're going to get right into it. I'm flying solo this week, but I'm going to give you this cash game plays. And then, of course, on Making a Millie, which will be broadcasting next, we will look at the GPPs, large field GPPs, and specifically the Millie Maker on DraftKings. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We'll start with some of the Vegas lines, and I'm going to go ahead and share my screen with y'all so you can see what I got going on here. As I go over to dfsarmy.com and the domination station, DFS Army, if you are not a DFS Army subscriber, what are you doing with your life? Check them out. Last week, another big win for DFS Army, $50,000, and the Flea Flicker. We had 2 Millie Maker winners to start the season. Just absolutely unreal run the DFS Army's on. And of course, I am a content creator right now for DFS Army. I look at Yahoo DFS. I look back at the Millie Maker and MME strategy of top pros. So you can try DFS Army right now for a month, essentially. So if you do Underdog Fantasy, use code DFS Army. They will deposit match you up to $100, 100% deposit match, and you get a free month try at DFS Army. If you don't play Underdog, you don't want to do player props, you don't want to do best ball, that's fine. Give me a holler at Twitter at Fantasy Fling. And of course, I can assist you with some of the various month-long VIP free membership trials options that you have available to you. So give me a holler. But anyways, let's look at the main slate. So some of the games, obviously, that jump out, the big one, Buffalo and Baltimore. Both of these teams have been on a tear. Mainly Baltimore, their offense with Lamar Jackson, having an MVP type run so far this season as he's trying to get paid, and he's going to get paid, assuming he stays healthy, because he has been incredible. And then on the other side, you have Buffalo, who they had a little bit of a shakeup last week. They lost to Miami, but they look to be back and crushing this week as, studs coming off a dud. And you got Josh Allen, Stephon Diggs, maybe Gabe Davis, Singletary is getting involved. So this game could go nuclear. It's a 51-point game total, the highest one on the slate. And then specifically, the Ravens, they don't have the best secondary. So this is a game where if the Ravens are going to win this game, they're going to need to score a lot of points. And they certainly show they can do that. Even going against New England last week with Bill Belichick, say what you want about the Patriots, but he always has a good defense, and it didn't matter for Lamar. So this is a game we're very excited about. We're looking to stack this, and we're looking to play it cash. So that's the top game on the slate. After that, not the best slate as far as high scoring games. So that was the only game over 50 points. We have Cleveland and Atlanta at 47.5. And probably, a lot of the reasons why there's these games on slates where it's not going to be over 50 points is we do have a lot of injuries this week. So we're going to get into that. There's going to be a chalk week at running back. So running back is going to be pretty easy to guess this week. And we're going to look over at the chalkboard at DFS Army and kind of show you that in a second. So Cleveland and Atlanta, there's some pieces here. Cordarrelle Patterson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts. We got Chubb, Amari Cooper on the other side. So there are certainly some pieces that we'll be looking to take from these games. I like it more from tournament, not in cash, but we'll get into that on Making a Millie. And then Seattle and Detroit. So this was a game that looked a lot better on paper when it first came out. Seattle's playing better than you thought they were with Geno Smith, Rashad Penny, DK, Lockett. So we have some cash consideration on that side for guys like Lockett, for example, and then some tournament plays that I'm interested in. And then Detroit. This game looked great, again, early on, stacks and whatnot. But Swift has been rolled out, so Jamal Williams is going to be mega chalk. And then Amron was rolled out, and so is DJ Chark. So this game is kind of looking ugly on the Detroit side, with the exception of maybe a Hawkinson and Jamal Williams. But, that is tied for the second highest game on the slate, so it's certainly going to have some consideration for us. And then after that, there's a couple games that I like. that I think could be a little sneaky this week. We got the Chargers going against Houston. Now, Houston has had a good defense to start the year, but I don't really think they're that good. I think it's kind of some of the opponents they've gone against, like the Broncos has slow start offensively. And we got the Chargers on the other side of that. Now, they have disappointed. Keenan Allen's been banged up. Justin Herbert has had a rib injury. But this is a game that's going to be one of the more high scoring games on the slate. So we're certainly going to have some consideration. Definitely in tournaments for me, more so in tournaments. So we'll get into that. I'll make an ability. And then last 45.5. This is actually the third highest game on the slate. Denver versus the Raiders. So from a fantasy points per dollar perspective, there's some plays pop in here, which we will get into, in fact, as we look at the domination station. But first thing we're going to do, we are going to look at the chalkboard real quick. So this is one thing I do each and every week, as I mentioned on DFS Army's chalkboard. This is what I live by. It's my Sunday morning ritual, my Bible. I go to DFS Army, I go to the chalkboard, and I kind of piece together my lineup here. So you could see total ownership now with quarterbacks. It's never too crazy, right? It's normally going to be like 10%, maybe 11, 12, 15, but it's never going to be like too chalky. So Josh Allen is the top guy this week. A little surprise, Lamar Jackson coming in under owned. So that's something we'll probably be looking to exploit more in tournaments. We got a high scoring game. He could definitely exceed projections by a lot, coming in a little under owned. But Josh Allen, this is probably where we're going cash, 8,400. He's $100 more than Lamar Jackson. And we got Marcus Mariota. It's kind of surprised there. Didn't expect him to be chalk. I liked him in tournaments, but I'm not sure about that anymore with him looking to be a little overowned as far as I'm concerned. And then Jalen Hurts obviously has been on a great run. He's just behind him. So at running back, we have Jamal Williams. DeAndre Swift out, Jamal Williams in. Jamal Williams looked great. He had some great runs last week. He was already getting goal line carries. So if you think he could potentially get more carries and he won't be splitting with Swift, we certainly like that. And especially with Amron being out, DJ Chark being out, really, I just see this offense going two ways. It's going to go through Hawkinson and it's going to go through Jamal Williams. Now, there's some worry that the offense might not be what you think it's going to be because they have too many, key players, Amron and Ala Swift, for example, missing. And this isn't a good enough team where they can afford to lose players like that. So there is a little bit of worry. And, cash games, we don't really care about that. We're playing the chalk. But in tournaments, we might be thinking about fading Jamal Williams because if he busts and he's chalky in tournaments, that's a great way to get leverage on the field. And it's just with the offense having so many pieces missing, it's certainly something we could think about. There's a lot of outcomes for that offense that are negative, and getting leverage if we fade a chalky running back and an offense that does not produce, that is a good way to get great leverage on the field. So the other back, the shock, Khalil Herbert, 20% projected ownership. He already looks better than David Montgomery. If there's a lot of people that you follow, you respect, the Chris Harrises of the world and whatnot. A lot of people already think he's a better back than David Montgomery. So David Montgomery is out. Khalil Herbert has no one to split carries with. He's 5,700. And he just looks really good. So he's projected for 16 points. He certainly is one of the top fantasy points per dollar plays. I'm going to have a lot of exposure to him in all formats, not just cash games. The other guy in that game, Saquon Barkley. I love Barkley. I don't think I'm getting there in cash, specifically because I don't want to play two running backs in the same team. If, the Giants are playing anyone else but Chicago, it would be these three backs in my lineup for sure. But in tournaments, I will play some Barkley just to get different and hopefully get leverage off Khalil Herbert, who I'm thinking, based on his price, will be way chalkier all around. So those are the top three guys. And then we have Josh Jacobs. This is kind of surprising. He's only 5,500 though. So, he is cheap, and the Broncos are playing the Raiders. And that is one of the more high projected games. Also, Broncos have Patrick Surtain. So if you think he's going to cover Devontae Adams and shut him down, maybe this is how the Raiders are going to produce. They're going to run the ball more. So pretty good matchup. And then wide receivers, we talked about Baltimore going against Buffalo. So Stephon Diggs is coming in as the top guy on the slate. We also have Deontay Johnson after him from an ownership perspective. 17%. Richie James, because Sterling Shepard's out, Tony's out, Galladay is worthless. So Richie James slides in. He was already getting like a 20+% target share at 20%. So you figure he's going to get even more targets at 4,000. He's an easy cash game lock for me this week. And then right behind him, Tyler Lockett, and that Seattle and Cleveland game, very looking to be pretty high owned. And Matt Collins is last week. He was in the Millie Maker lineup. He scored like 32 points. He's only 4,200 this week, so a little higher than he was last week. I believe he was like 3,700, but he's actually in a great spot to smash again. Tight ends, we got Mark Andrews, 14%. TJ Hawkinson just below him. So Mark Andrews is the top pay up option. He's been in the Millie Maker, I don't know, it seems like 5 times out of the past. It's easily 4 times, 2 times to start the year, but easily 4 times out of the past, 5, 6 regular season games. Mark Andrews found himself in the Millie Maker lineup. So he's Lamar's top target for sure. He's priced accordingly, up a few hundred from what he was last week. And then just below him, we have TJ Hawkinson and Pat Freiermuth and Kyle Pitts and David Njoku rounding out the top 5. So TJ Hawkinson in line to get more work as well, with Amron and DJ Shark out in that offense. So he is a fine play above 4,000. So let's take a look at the domination station real quick. We are basically going to go through some of the top fantasy points per dollar plays, top plays from a projection standpoint. So, we went through the quarterbacks already. We pretty much lined it up for you. Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Jalen Hurts. These are going to be your top 3 plays in cash pretty much every week. They all have a good floor with rushing ability. Josh Allen will certainly run some in the end zone. Lamar Jackson, he will just take off down the field and, run 60 yards for a touchdown. He's averaged like 75 rushing yards a game. And also like 1.5 touchdowns. So his floor is just so high. And then Jalen Hurts has been on an incredible start too. And this is going against the Jacksonville team that much better than we remember them, right? So Jalen Hurts can certainly do his thing. And a Jacksonville team that's going to be much more competitive. We like this. We want this pace pushed in this game. But even that said, they were up 24-0 against Washington last week, and still they were taking shots downfield. So we like that. All 3 are cash consideration play. They're all 3 within, a couple $100 from each other, but Lamar Jackson will be where I will be going most likely, or Josh Allen really in cash. I think they're both safe. Really doesn't matter. You can play both of them. I don't think you'll be disappointed in cash games this week. So as far as running backs, we like to play the chalk. We might pay up most weeks, but this is a week where it just doesn't make sense. We have running backs that have slid into the lineup in starting positions who are going to be getting a lot of volume, and they are chalk for good reason. So Khalil Herbert, as I talked about, Jamal Williams, Josh Jacobs, these are the top 3 guys on the slate. And really, when I built the lineup earlier, these are the 3 that I had. I do really like Saquon Barkley. I'm going to have a lot of exposure to him in tournaments. He's also coming in projected as high owned. So you could do a lot worse than playing Barkley too. The thing is, if you're playing Barkley, you're not playing Stephon Diggs though. So just looking at lineup constructions, if you're playing Barkley, for me, I'm not playing Barkley and Herbert in the same game, mainly because let's go back up and look at it. It's just low scoring. And I just don't like that. I don't want 2 running backs in the same game in a low scoring game. This is 39.5 points. I just can't do it. And if I have to make a choice in that type of game, I'm going to choose the chalk running back who's only 5,700. That's an easy decision for me when it comes to running backs in cash. So those are going to be the top guys in our cash games. And then in Making a Milli, I'll get into, some other tournament plays that I like. So wide receiver, we'll look at top projected. We got Devontae Adams and Stephon Diggs. I'll be shocked. I would be shocked if Devontae Adams outscores Stephon Diggs this week. We got Diggs going against the Ravens secondary that has not been good. It's a high scoring game. It figures to be a shootout. Stud coming off a dud. Totally love Diggs this week. And then on the other side, you got Devontae Adams going against Patrick Surtain and the Denver Broncos. Not only that, but Nathaniel Hackett, sure, Probably not the best head coach. I'm a Broncos fan. You see the hat. I don't like him. That said, he probably knows how to defend Devontae Adams quite well. He was the offensive coordinator when they were in Green Bay. So, and the best way to do that also is to put Patrick Surtain on him, who's a lockdown corner in his second year in the league. So, this is an easy decision for me to fade Devontae Adams and to play Diggs. And then when we look at fantasy points per dollar, which, we often do specifically for our cash games, some of the top guys coming up, Richie James, he's 4,000. As we mentioned, the Giants, they have nobody else to throw to at wide receiver. So we really like Richie James. He's projected as 17% owned, 3.23 from fantasy points per dollars perspective. And then Matt Collins, he got almost 10x last week from fantasy points per dollars perspective. So last 2 weeks, he's got 8 targets 2 weeks ago. Last week, he had 11 targets. No Renfro again this week. Specifically, if Devontae Adams is being shut down, targets got to funnel somewhere. So I like Waller specifically in tournaments. And I also like Matt Collins this week. So he's playable in cash as well. The other guy I will probably have in my cash lineup is Tyler Lockett. He's gotten over 8 targets the past 2 weeks. He's only 5,900. I like him this week as well. Now, one guy I skipped over when I went over these is Josh Jacobs. I like Josh Jacobs because the optimizer likes him. 2.87 fantasy points per dollar projection. Every time I've bet against the optimizer and done what they didn't tell me, 9 times out of 10, I get burned. The optimizer just knows more than me. The domination station, it knows better. So I certainly like Josh Jacobs from fantasy points per dollar look this week. And specifically, again, when you're playing matchups, I could totally see it with Devontae Adams probably being shut down. This is probably how you're going to beat Denver, especially with Derek Carr. He's thrown multiple picks the past few weeks. I think if the Raiders are going to win this game, they're going to do it by leaning on the run. So that's going to do it for wide receivers for me in cash games. And then tight ends, we got TJ Hawkinson. If you can afford to pay up for him, if you can afford the extra, $400 from David Njoku, I like that because Hawkinson slides right in as the number 1 target in the passing offense. There's no Amon-Ra St. Brown, no DJ Chark. So I really like him this week. He's going to get a lot of volume. He was already getting a good target share. In fact, this is something that you guys, if you are DFS Army subscriber, I look at this every week when I start doing my write-up for my cash game plays, and that is NFL matchups. So I will go through here and look at each game and see who is going to be getting, who's got, a really big target share, and then who also maybe they don't have a big target share on the season, right? But they're starting to get an uptick in targets. So maybe you have someone, they were hurt, they missed games, and then they finally come in and you see their target share starting to climb every week. They're getting more involved in the offense. So, for example, TJ Hawkinson, he's already getting a 16% target share. Now, there's no Amon, so he's probably going to get quite a bump. He should be well over 20% this week. There's no DJ Chark. He was getting 16%. Yeah, so we could see TJ Hawkinson getting maybe 25% target share this week. That would not be out of the range of outcomes at all. Last week, 14% on the season. So really, he's the wide receiver 1 right now in that offense with no Amon and no DJ Chark. So we like Josh Reynolds as well. But anyways, that is something you have available to you to help make these lineup decisions. So TJ Hawkinson, Pat Freiermuth, they're all coming in the top fantasy points per dollar. Freiermuth behind him, and then David Njoku as well. And then, of course, Mark Andrews. He's the highest projected owned and highest projected on the slate. Naturally, he's number 1 in tight ends and 7th actually right now in pass catchers. So all these guys are in consideration in cash. I like all of them. So as far as defenses, and then we'll finish this up and we will roll on with making a Millie, your Millie Maker preview. So defenses, fantasy points per dollar, specifically in cash games. This is where I like to look. I typically I want to target bad quarterbacks. Defense is going against bad quarterbacks. So the Steelers, for example, this week going against the Jets. And I want to mention something too when I say that is if we do, let's just do the optimal lineup. So when I struggle to decide on like 1 to 2 players for my cash games, I will run the optimal. I'll hit like a couple players that I really like and then let the optimal kind of do the work for me. So the Titans were coming up a lot. And then we also had the Steelers D. They were coming up a lot too. And I guarantee you when I play tournaments, the Steelers D are going to pop up over and over and over. So this is another way you can also, if you have DFS Army, you have the domination station, like a couple of the shocky plays, then hit optimize and have it in optimal mode, and it will more or less give you your cash lineup. You might make a change here or there, but I promise if you play this optimal lineup over the course of a season, you will cash way more weeks than you will not cash. So certainly a good way to go about it for building your lineups. I will probably go with the Titans this week, 2,500. I did make a lineup earlier, actually, and I settled kind of on a punt option with the Steelers. Not the Steelers, with the New England Patriots. Essentially, my cash lineup that I really liked was Josh Allen, Khalil Herbert, Jamal Williams, Stephon Diggs, Richie James, Tyler Lockett, David Njoku, Josh Jacobs, and the Patriots at 2,300. The Packers certainly aren't what they used to be, and we know that Bill Belichick can get his defense ready. So as a punt option, it's not horrible. I don't hate it. I would prefer the Titans if you can find an extra $200 for 2,500 versus 23. The Cardinals going against Baker, specifically if Christian McCaffrey's out. I really like that one. Definitely in small tournaments, I'll have a lot of exposure to that, 2,800. And then, the Steelers, that's going to be your top pay up option going against Zach Wilson and the Jets. Zach Wilson is back from his cougar hunting. So he's going to be trying to hit Elijah Moore and Garrett Wilson and Tyler Conklin. And the Steelers D will be trying to pick him off because until we see otherwise, he is not a very good NFL quarterback. So that's going to do it for cash. Remember, cash games, a couple things to keep in mind. We are going to play the Shock. We are, on top of playing the Shock, we also are going to play optimal plays. So we're just focusing on playing the best plays. You want to do head-to-heads, and the reason why is you minimize your risk. So do as many head-to-heads as you can, but don't set it to do it no more than one person. So do not let someone take all your head-to-heads. You want it your head-to-heads to be going against one person only one time. And typically play the smaller stakes in head-to-head. So play a combination of that and 50-50s or double ups, which in the top 43% get their money back. So that's what you're going to focus on in your cash games. We're looking for floor, and we do that by getting volume plays. And also we minimize our risk by playing high-owned players. So that's what you're going to look for in cash. If you do, you will cash way more than you don't cash. I cashed 13 weeks last year. So far this year, 3-0 in cash games. So that's how we win in cash. And we are going to take a look at how we win in GPPs here in a second as I look to making a milli, going live, looking at DraftKings Milli Maker. Also look just large field GPPs, your stacks, your studs, your sleepers. We're going to take a look at that next. Hope y'all have a great week. We will see you, hopefully be back to our normal schedule next week on the DFS podcast. We'll have Eric back. So peace out. Good luck. Win some cash.